All right, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are having a great day. Let's take a look and see what happened with Bitcoin. So, got a very bearish close. Our high was 63,740, low was 61,512. We did stay above this support zone at 62,109, so not too bad, but you did lose the 4-hour 200 MA. So overall, I have to stay bearish for the rest of the week. There's no sign of bullishness that I can really see, at least for the remainder of the week. That being said, the only chance that we have is I believe there are some Fed events coming up. So we'll go over those as well, but that's kind of our saving grace for the Bulls. Otherwise, you're just going to expect a rollover to maybe this zone area. We'll take a look and see, about liquidity as well. But you can see, on our 12-hour, we're getting rejected off of this order block right here and pretty strongly. You tested it right here, the previous 12-hour. You're able to reach the top on this 12-hour candle, but you're not, getting anywhere with it. Honestly, guys, like I said, I don't see us getting back up to 63, 602 or 63,495, which is our Monday midnight open. I don't see us revisiting these levels this week. I think that we are going to be in a bearish sentiment for the week. Um, there's a possibility that we maybe reach. Let's see. Let's take a look and see if we take this from here. Let me move this out of the way. I would probably take it maybe from this one right here. So, you could possibly get back up to 63, 265, this level right here, kind of wipe out some of the shorts, but I don't think we're going to get back above that. I think that's going to be a point of resistance, and we're going to see some issues if we were to get up there. Now, let's drop into the 8 hour. 8 hours, so also showing that rejection, so not too much different. 4 hours where I wanted to talk about. So here's the thing: you got rejected off of the 200 MA, right? However, the interesting part about this is that we got a spike up. We know we're getting some candles, and then look at this, guys. We might get an actual 50 MA cross on the 200 MA. So this is technically what we call the real golden cross, or the real death cross is when the 50 interacts, because the 21 kind of front runs it, but the 50 is the actual, like, from the most part, from what I've heard from my mentor, it's the more guaranteed move. Not that it is a guarantee, but it's the higher probable move, right? So if we get that, there's a possibility that we can, at least consolidate up here for the rest of the week, or we could possibly get higher. But, um, you know, I don't know if I would be of the mindset of shorting right now. It's kind of up in the air to me. I've been very conflicted with the chart today. Didn't really take a trade today, but you can see that we're kind of building some compression candles the past 8 hours, or 4 hours at least. Now it's 6 hours. We had a decent move up, right? We had a decent bullish candle. It's not engulfing, but it's a bullish candle. But we're not really getting that strength back up above this order block either. So, um, you know, you could say that we could continue to be bearish if we lose this line right here and this 50 MA. Um, but this basically is telling me that we're kind of an indecision in the meso time frames. I would say that on the higher time frames, like the daily, definitely looking more bearish. And probably even the weekly, yeah, the weekly looking definitely bearish. But the meso, I'm kind of indecisive, to be honest with you, because this, we've kept this line, this resistance line at 62,109 all day. We didn't close. The only time we closed below it was in the morning, at 8 Eastern, but we've been able to get back above it and show some resistance above it. So hopefully this candle will be, show a place of resistance above it, right? Um, or support, I should say, above it. But it just looks like unless we lose this, there's a possibility that we consolidate here, get that 50 to cross over. We might get a decent move on the meso. Um, looking at your hourly, that doesn't look great, right? You wipe out a double top there, but again, this has been such difficult price action to tell, guys. I mean, we are in the middle of summer where, and there's your bearish 786. So, if this bearish 786 plays out like it looks like it's going to, you're going to drop down to 61, 124 at least, and then test some of these other levels. Um, but it's really going to depend on that 4 hour. That 4 hour is going to dictate the smaller time frames, right? So if the 4 hour wants to keep that 50 MA and keep this support line at 62,109, then that's what it's going to do. And the other, smaller time frames are going to listen to it. Um, you could say this is kind of an inverted head and shoulders right here on the 15, shoulder, head, shoulder, shoulder, something like that. But it's been very choppy. It's difficult to make money unless you're, using a huge position size in here to make money. It's just not ideal market conditions. Now, that being said, like I said, we do have a Fed event or a couple of them this week for the remainder of the week, but um, it's just not great. I think the Nasdaq has been moving a lot more than BTC. I've been kind of watching it here and there, but yeah, Bitcoin just is not doing it lately. It's just not doing these expansive moves. I mean, you even if you ran this 200 MA cross right here, this bounce, I mean, you're only getting up to 62,600 before it just gives it all back. It's you're using a full Bitcoin that's only $600, right? And now we're just losing it all. So anyways, guys, very interesting, frustrating market to say the least if you're trying to make some money out of here. I would say, if you are testing the waters, just use small position sizes for now. It will get fun again, I promise, but it's just not that time yet, unfortunately. So, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity. So 62,109 we were targeting and 61,124. We also talked about 62,865, I believe. So let's take a look at all of these levels and then 63. I think it was actually 63,265. So 63,265, 62,109, and then 61,124. So let's take a look and see where those align with our liquidity here. All right, so let me get out of here. So taking a look at liquidity, 60,600-ish. So yeah, so on the 4 hour, we're looking at 60,600 as kind of our yellow area we could possibly take out. Um, I don't know. I don't think we're going to get that low though this week. I mean, we could if we lose that 62, level that we were talking about. Looks like we're losing it right now. But if we close a 4 hour candle below that, then we got to assume that we're just going to start taking some of this other stuff out, like that 61,124, which is down here. But it does look like we have it down to 60,600-ish area. So I would be targeting that for the 4 hour. Let's take a look at our 1 hour. So 1 hour, it's basically kind of showing the same thing, unfortunately. So yeah, 61, 124. So I honestly, guys, yeah, 61, 124 is kind of where I would be targeting with that. You can kind of see how indecisive this is, though. I mean, you have your daily at a positive one on, so slightly bullish on your trend diff. You have your 4 hour at a negative two, so which is, decently bearish or moderately bearish. So it's kind of the market's indecisive right now. And I actually myself have it reversed. I have the meso more bullish than the actual macro. But you can see, we're still showing that 61, 124. So odds are, guys, we're going to come down here, take this out, and then have a possible recovery. So I'd be targeting this area right here, around 60,900, 61,124, for example. That would be my first area. So game plan tonight, if we lose 62,109, and if we close a like a 4 hour candle below that, you have to assume that we're going to go to 61,124 unless proven otherwise. Okay. If we do not lose that on the 4 hour, the 62,000 area that we talked about, then you can start to say, okay, maybe we come up, make some sort of bearish 786 to 63,300. Okay. So that's kind of your game plan. It's all going to depend, again, on the 4 hour and whether or not we lose that 62,000, what was it? 62,109 area right here. So that's going to be your line in the sand. And if we lose that on the 4 hour and we close a candle below this support line right here, you're going to visit 61,124. It's a very good chance that you're going to get down here. Okay? So that's what I'm seeing as far as liquidity goes. It looks like it's pretty straightforward. It's just all going to depend on whether or not that 4 hour can close back above support and also close maybe, possibly, hopefully above that 50 MA to potentially get that real golden cross, right? All right, so taking a look at our order book from Kiyotaka, you can see that we are potentially bouncing off of an order right now with 267 Bitcoin. So that could be a possible bounce, but you can also see that we have all of this down here to 61 area. So that's another potential for us to get down here. And then let's see. 65 is, we don't really even have any orders nearby us really until 63. So 63.3 area, like we talked about, this is a 63 even. So yeah, I mean, the order book is telling us that we're going to go to the downside, take out 61, 124-ish area, wipe out this, double bottom right here, and then maybe come back and maybe we can visit that 63 area. So that could be the play. We come down, we take this out, we come back up, wreck the shorts. It's gonna be a lot of chop in this range, unfortunately for right now. It's just kind of an accumulation range, which is a good thing for the bulls because if we can stay within a range, it basically could, possibly signify that we're bottoming out, quote unquote. As long as we can stay in here for quite a while. So, um, you do have orders all the way down here into the 50s and the 40s, but there is a possibility, right? That we could be bottoming out. We just aren't going to know yet. So, anyways, guys, that is what I have for you tonight. Again, watch. We lose that 4-hour support line. You go to 61 124. Otherwise, you keep it. You go up to 63.3. It's pretty much that cut and dry from what I can tell. So. All right, guys, that is what I have for you. Let me take a real quick look at the simple map. So the simple map, let me refresh this, make sure that our data is current. So the simple map is showing us that the 100x liquidity is right below us, which again kind of ties into our order book, ties into liquidity, right? So the simple map is showing us on a bar graph that, we have 100x orders, people are 100xing these trades, and it could take us down into that 61 area we were talking about. So I definitely see that, potentially before we can move up. Because look at, there's hardly any orders here for the 100x to the upside. So not too many people are shorting. Most people are longing, it looks like. So you got all this to take out before we move to the upside. So the smaller time frames are telling us that it's bearish. Okay, 5, 10, 15, 1 hour. And then our larger time frame, the swing time frame, let's see what this is telling us here. So the swing time frame, I think, is saying pretty much the same thing, that we could start taking out some, we're already at this node, it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, 61.2, it looks like. So we could keep taking some liquidity there, maybe moving slightly down to here, and then before our little bounce here to the upside. So I definitely don't think that, unless the Fed event triggers, and we'll take a look at that real quick, but unless there's a Fed event or some sort of report that comes out that will trigger it to, go further down, I definitely think there's a good bounce opportunity within the 61 range if we do go lower. Now, taking a look at Forex Factory, this will be the last thing we look at here. We're on, today's the 8th, so we had the FOMC meeting minutes. You got unemployment claims at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. And then you have, you don't really have anything on Friday besides the Canadian events, which don't really dictate the market as much as the US events. So this is kind of the last thing. So tomorrow would be, your day where there's a potential for the last kind of, possible Fed folder movement, right? So I would definitely keep that in mind, and Friday, if, we are bearish and we do not bottom tomorrow, Friday obviously is going to be the day that we're going to bottom probably. Um, so I would expect that if this is a violent move down, or if we, have a continuation down, that we may not bottom until Friday. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. We could possibly even bottom tonight and then have this unemployment claims folder, pump us up a little bit to that 63 area, just as a guess. But it's really going to depend on what we do tonight. Okay. All right, guys, that is all that I have for you for this evening. As usual, if you guys ever wanted to use the Trading Different tools and you wanted a little bit of a discount, always feel free to use my code Sean. So it's tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to redeem your 10% off of your subscription, and you get all of these really cool, tools included with it. And it really does help you with your setups and your trading. So, all right, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you all in the morning. Take care.